Welcome everybody to the Cheech and Kern. Oh fuck, dude, I messed up. Ready? You ready? Hey guys, welcome everybody. Wait, no, I fucked that up.
Oh fuck!
I'm just gonna wing it. All right, here we go. And of course, he's wrestling Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Boy, you know, he was kind of built all around. You know, he had those huge thighs. You know, they kind of went well with his whole body. That kind of sounded gay, but you know.
I'm sorry, I can't stop. Oh fuck!
Of course, people haven't seen me, but I'm 6'5" and close to 290. So you would expect a big motherfucker like me to be able to pick up 135 pounds. Hell no, I got my ass kicked. I fell down. I was like, oh, I can't pick this up.
Oh shit!
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Cheech and Kern Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Cheech, alongside my main man, Kern. What up, Kern?
What's up, Cheech? What's going on?
Nothing much, nothing much. We're here, we're back, bigger, better than ever in episode 8 of the Cheech and Kern Wrestling Podcast. And we got a hell of a show ahead for you guys. Today, we're going to talk specifically about Monday Night Raw from January 4th, 1999. Now, before we get into that show, let's talk a little bit about current events. Kern, do you check out WWE Payback this past Sunday?
Yes, I did. Payback was good. What do you think about it?
I thought Payback was the shit, actually. It surpassed my expectation. I don't know if it's because, you know, these network pay-per-views have kind of gone so, you know, you tend to not expect so much of these shows. But this show completely passed my expectation. The Fatal 4-Way for the WWE title, I enjoyed the hell out of it. You know, we had a brief moment where the Shield, they kind of joined up and teamed together and did that triple powerbomb on Randy Orton. I thought that was a great angle. And that Rusev John Cena I Quit match, I thought it was a good match. It was great. They furthered the story between Rusev and Lana, and they kept the belt on John Cena, which is very important. And of course, what happened the next night on Raw, you know, with Kevin Owens, makes complete sense. So I really enjoyed that match.
You know that I enjoyed the pay-per-view also. I liked it. That Lana with Rusev, I don't know why they broke them up so fast though. I think they were still, I mean, it went too quick. They don't let storylines write anymore, like where it sticks around for like, you know, 6 or 8 months like they used to do back in the day. Now they do a storyline like 2 or 3 months and then they drop it and take off. I think Lana with Rusev was good. She was his voice piece. I mean, he don't really get you with the mic, so why would they break them apart, in my opinion?
No, I totally agree with you. I agree. I like the Lana and Rusev dynamic. You know, they were a great couple together. The way she would speak, the way he would just kind of stand there, and then he started shouting. Now he's speaking more and more, even, you know, every time, which I guess he's gonna have to do now that he's alone. But I like the Lana Rusev combination. So they broke him up. Of course, Lana, she's they're gonna give her a huge push as a babyface coming up now. But yeah, I'm enjoying it.
She's not really a wrestler. What is she gonna do? Like,
well, I'm not sure if she's not really a wrestler. You know, I guess we'll go a little for fantasy booking here, but I was thinking that maybe Lana, of course, the turn was eventually gonna happen, but maybe she would get like a stable of guys to fight against Rusev. You know, like, okay, we seen that this Monday night where she joined Dolph Ziggler. She came down, did that little junior high kiss and everything. And So maybe she'll get like a stable of guys now to fight Rusev. You know, maybe Rusev will now transition into Dolph Ziggler, and they'll have a great feud. You know, I would love to see Rusev versus Dolph Ziggler because I feel Dolph Ziggler, he's a great fighter, and he's going to be bumping all around for Rusev.
Well, you know, I kind of like the idea you're talking about. I like that Lana having her own stable. I mean, we were talking about that in our last podcast, that you need a good, well, we were talking about heel managers.
Yeah.
But I like that idea you're talking about. They should have a nice stable of managers out there again that should be able to do stuff. And she is a good voice piece, and she's fucking pretty good to look at also.
Yep, she's very easy on the eyes.
Is she going to change her Russian roots now? Is she, what is she supposed to?
I was listening to some other show this week, and they were actually talking about that maybe Vince McMahon is thinking about doing kind of a type of storyline where she takes like these language courses or something to kind of lose the Russian accent, because at some point she's gonna have to lose the Russian accent. You know, people are gonna. I don't know.
I don't know. I think that Russian accent is kind of sexy. I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, but I mean,
her persona. When you hear that accent, that voice, you know it's her.
Yeah. We'll have to see. It's interesting. I want to see what goes down. You know, so I'm paying attention to it. I kind of like what's going on right now. But going back to Payback, I enjoyed the hell out of that tag team title match, the 2 out of 3 falls match for the WWE tag team titles between Rusev, between Cesaro and Tyson Kidd versus the New Day. As I said in the last podcast, I am enjoying the hell out of the New Day, this new gimmick they got, the heels, the New Day sucks. You know, it's great, and I enjoyed this match. These guys are really good together. You know, they work great, and the 2 out of 3 falls match, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
I just can't stand the New Day. They're not there for me yet. I don't see it happening. I mean, they didn't come out. First of all 3 of them are too short. We talked about this last. They're just too short. I mean, you cannot be intimidating and badass if you're.
But they're not. Their gimmick is not to be intimidating and badass. Their gimmick is like everybody's in on the joke except them. You know, that's the way I see it. It's like, oh, we're New Day rocks, and everybody's like, no, New Day sucks. And it's like everybody's in on it except them. So it's it's awesome.
To me, it feels like they're trying too hard.
I don't know.
That's just my opinion. I don't like them. I mean, I liked the big swole guy, Langston, Big E now. I loved him when he was by himself. I mean, he looked good. He had an attitude. He has a huge fucking physique besides being short. But when he was the Intercontinental Champion, U.S. Champion, what title did he hold?
Yeah, he was the Intercontinental Champion.
Intercontinental Champion. I liked him right there. When they took him to this New Day thing, it killed his momentum. He didn't have much, but it was, he had a nice look to him. He was the Intercontinental Champion, so they actually were giving him a push. He was holding one of the titles. And then they moved him to New Day. I don't know. I just don't like it. And Kofi Kingston, to me, he's like an overrated Rey Mysterio. Like Rey Mysterio was in WCW. I mean, when Rey Mysterio went to WWE, totally different. I mean, he got a huge push. He became world champion. He was probably one of the top sellers, in merchandise. But in WCW, he reminds me of Rey Mysterio in WCW. You go out there and you do some acrobatic shit. You look good, and then you leave, and then you're never holding a title. You're not getting no push for anything. Now he got the tag team titles. But Kofi Kingston, I don't like his character. Big E, they just killed what I liked about him. And this other guy, Xavier, God, he sucks. God, he sucks. I didn't like him in the independent scene, and I sure as hell, I don't know what they see in him. But mind you, that's just my personal opinion.
I don't know. I'm digging the New Day. I keep digging the New Day, and I enjoy watching them. And now this, I guess it's not this week. The week before that, Elimination Chamber is coming up, and they're gonna have the first ever Elimination Chamber tag team match. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to that. I am very looking forward to that one.
When you think about all the guys that are involved in that match, you got the Matadors, you got the New Day, of course, you got Tyson and Cesaro, you got the Primetime players, you got the fucking Ascension. I don't know what they're doing there, but you got the Ascension in the match. And
they look like a bad version of the Road Warriors and Demolition. It looks like if the Road Warriors and Demolition had kids, that's what would have came out.
I think those people pissed off somebody, and they're like, we're going to give you this shitty gimmick. And it's like a punishment they got going on, because, oh, man, that's just horrible.
Yeah, it's bad.
And then we got the Lucha Dragons. I enjoy the hell out of them. So that's going to be a very interesting match, having all those guys in the Elimination Chamber at once. So we'll see what goes on there.
You know, I agree. I like the concept of having a tag team elimination chamber. It's new, it's refreshing. The only thing I don't like about it is that the WWE's tag team division is so washed down that it don't look. Yeah, the Matadors. Come on, man, are you serious?
But I mean, they're at least they're tag teams with names and everything. Because before they were like they were like makeshift tag teams, but these are like real tag teams now.
No, but think about it. You could have had, if you go back to the NWA, if one of these episodes, we could do one of those Jim Crockett Memorial Senior Cups, where it was a tag team tournament. Those were makeshift names, but makeshift names sometimes turn out to be good tag teams. Without name, like there's plenty of good, like Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. They didn't have a name. Oh, they went to the WWE.
The Brainbusters.
That was gay. But when they were in the NWA and WCW, they were known as Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, members of the Four Horsemen. I mean, there were great tag teams. Look at Cesaro and Numbnuts right now. I mean, their tag teams are actually fucking cool.
Why the fuck do you call them Numbnuts?
No, they Numbnuts.
Tyson Kidd, yeah, I love their team. But just to go back on the New Day real quick, it was hilarious because I think it was on Monday Night Raw, or was it on the same Payback pay-per-view? I'm not sure. Where they mentioned, oh yeah, it was in the Payback because they were celebrating with a glass of ice cold milk. The New Day was celebrating their victory, and Renee Young's like, oh yeah, you guys are gonna be in the Elimination Chamber tag team match, and Big E's like, no, we can't be in that. We don't fit in the pod. You know, it's just little details like that. It's hilarious. I don't know.
I just
they
don't
are winning
see
me
it.
over.
Yeah.
They're definitely winning me over.
I don't see it.
So,
I think they would have came out. I think that if you wanted to, like we were talking about this a couple of emails ago, we got from somebody about how would you book the New Day.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. Mind you, it's been like 3 or 4 weeks since that email we had, but I started thinking about it, and the first thing that popped in my head was Harlem Heat.
Okay.
Remember Harlem Heat at the end when it was Booker T, Stevie Ray, and Ahmed Johnson?
Ahmed Johnson. Wow, I don't even remember Ahmed Johnson was with Harlem Heat.
Oh man, yeah, Harlem Heat 2000 they called themselves.
Okay. No, I don't remember. I remember the only thing I remember about Harlem Heat was when they were with Sherry, Sensational Sherry. That's all I remember about Harlem Heat.
Oh man, that was long time.
And that was like early, yeah.
Yeah, that was 95, 6, somewhere in that area. Yep. Yeah, well, they had a version called Harlem Heat 2000, which was Booker T, Stevie Ray, and Ahmed Johnson. He came out by I can't remember his name. Brother T or something was his name.
Didn't they ever fight for the letter T? Is that true? They fought for the letter T? Like Booker T had a fight with somebody with the letter T?
Yeah, Ahmed Johnson, Brother T. They called him Brother T. Yeah.
So that actually...
Man. We gotta find out what pay-per-view that was. We gotta see that one. That was funny. Yeah, that was Ahmed Johnson.
Fighting for the letter T.
But Ahmed Johnson, remember when he was in the WWF, how big and swole and muscular he looked?
Now he's big, but he's just fat.
Yeah, when he went, if you go see this WCW when they were Harlem Heat 2000, you look at him, I remember saying, wow, this guy gained a lot of weight. Like all his muscles became fat. Mm-hmm. He had an extra chin in the front and in the back for some reason. Wow.
Yeah. I never really liked Ahmed Johnson in WWF because he and what the fuck was with that fashion? He had like 2 knee pads and his quads. I was like, what the fuck? What was that?
Hey, that's Ahmed Johnson being Ahmed Johnson, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways, well, Monday Night Raw from this past week had the debut. I'm not sure if I should call it a debut, but Kevin Owens came out while John Cena was doing the U.S. Open Challenge, and that was probably the best way to promote a guy coming up to your main roster. I mean, he came in, he looked like a badass. And of course, Kevin Owens, he looks like a legitimate badass just by looking at him. He comes out with his shirt, his shorts, his beard. He looks straight, calm, collected. He looks like he's ready to fucking fight. So he gets in there. Beard. The beard all bushy. Yep. He gets in there, and the best line is when John Cena is like, let me give you some veteran advice, son. And he's like, wait a minute, no. I've been doing this for 15 years. I've been doing this longer than you. You don't get to give me advice ever. And I was like, oh, that's a great fucking line. That was awesome.
That is awesome. I like Kevin Owens, Steen, whatever you want to call him. We'll call him Kevin Owens. But if it comes out Steen, I apologize. Everybody gets... Kevin Owens...
Who he is, though. Of course.
I know. I remember watching Kevin Steen way before I ever heard who the hell John Cena was.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while, and I didn't really hear about John Cena until he ended up signing with what was it? Ohio Valley Wrestling is where he was at.
Yeah, OVW. A little bit. Yep.
Right, OVW. And Kevin Steen to me has always been an awesome performer. Whenever I've seen him live, I've seen him live in Berwyn, Illinois. I've seen him live in the Chicago Ridge. I've seen him live plenty of times, and his matches were always the best match on the card. That guy is a monster, and he's going to be huge. He is going to be huge.
I actually can't wait to see him full time on the main roster, and it was great. So at the end, he ended up, knocking out John Cena. He took him out. He throws the U.S. title on the floor. He steps on it, and he holds up the NXT title. I mean, he made a huge impact on Monday Night Raw. And then, of course, after that, we segue into NXT from this past week. And I thought it was a hell of a show. That last match between Kevin Steen and Sami Zayn took it to another level. I liked it because Sami Zayn was able to get offense in early on Kevin Steen, and then Kevin Steen just took over and started kicking the shit out of him until eventually they stopped the match, and he just started beating everybody up. It was so fucking bad. Awesome. I say bad, but I mean it in an awesome way. He's kicking the hell out of Sami Zayn. The referees are coming on. He's making commotion. He's making mayhem, kicking everybody's ass. Fucking William Regal comes out. He hits William Regal or headbutts him or does some shit like that. He knocks William Regal out. He goes outside. He grabs the chair. He's going to beat the fuck out of Sami Zayn with the chair. And out of nowhere, boom, Samoa Joe's music comes out. And Samoa Joe comes out looking like a badass. It was a great NXT show all around. And that's only the main event. I'm not even talking about the women's title. Sasha Banks versus what's her name? Becky Lynch. Oh my God, that women's title match. That was the match of the night. And I could only wish that these women take this type of competition and this type of match to the main roster when they get there.
All right. Well, I got a couple of things about NXT that we were just talking about. About the women matches, I don't think they're going to go anywhere yet. Even if they get to the main roster, and I'm going to tell you why. I think Vince McMahon, he's still in charge. Whatever the fuck he says is going to go, regardless of who says. Right. He's the boss of all bosses. I don't think he likes women wrestling too much. I think he only likes having like one match about them, and that's pretty much all you're going to see. You might see a couple segments here or there. Triple H, on the other hand, as he's running NXT, he has like more confidence in his women to go out there and perform. Because he's from a different generation than Vince. You got to remember, Vince McMahon been promoting wrestling for how long? 30, 40?
Vince is 69. He's going to be, if he hasn't turned 70, he turns 70 this year. So
right, and then his father was a promoter, so I'm pretty sure he learned a lot of his, shit to become a promoter from his dad. Mm-hmm. And his dad was an old school wrestler that always thought women shouldn't be in wrestling. So Triple H, in the other hand, from a different generation, he sees what they bring to the table and how the fans react to them. That's why they're being so good at NXT right now. Because they might jump up to the WWE, but until Vince is dead and gone, and Triple H is running it, which we all suppose he's going to be the heir apparent to run WWE after Vince is gone. I think once Triple H takes over the company full time and he's got 100% control of it, I believe that's when you start seeing the women being at Raw or SmackDown or at the pay-per-views, where you might get 2 or 3 matches with the women that are going to be high-quality matches that you're going to like.
That's a shame.
The other thing
yeah, that's a shame though, because
it is.
I mean, Vince McMahon, bless his heart, I don't know, but he'll probably be alive for the next 20 years and he'll be working for the next 20 years. So by that time, these great women that are in NXT, might be gone by then.
That's one thing I liked about TNA was that they had their knockouts. They would promote them out there. You wouldn't see just one match and then forget about them, not hear about them no more. Mm-hmm. You see them in the beginning of the show. You will see the match in the middle of the show. You might have another match before the end of the show, and then you have a couple of back segments with them.
Yep.
They promoted their women. And then the other thing I wanted to mention about NXT was Samoa Joe. Is anybody else surprised besides me that his name is still Samoa Joe? Vince McMahon changes everybody's name so he can trademark that name because he knows they're going to get famous with him, and he don't want them using that name when they leave to go somewhere else. Why is Samoa Joe still Samoa Joe?
I was reading
What
about
do you
this
think?
online, and I kind of read. Now, of course, these are all rumors because I don't know anybody in the WWE. I'm not an insider, but I was reading on the internet and take this for what it's worth. But it says it was a Triple H call. They said Triple H was the one that made the call to keep Samoa Joe's name, and I kind of agree with it because when you think about it, Samoa Joe, he's what, 36. So let's say he got, I don't know, 5-6 good years left in him.
I don't know. It's just wrestling. I mean, you could be out there till you're 45, 50 if you're good.
Yeah, but I mean, like, where you really make the money, where you really make the money, he has about maybe 5 or 6 years, in my opinion. I don't know. I'm not a wrestler.
I don't know.
I'll probably go.
Kane's 50. He's still making good money.
He's still making good money, but is he the main draw? No, he's just part of the authority. He's kind of like a lackey for the authority.
Right, but I'm saying Samoa Joe could be out there making decent money at 45 still. I mean, he's big. He's got the look. I mean, he doesn't have to go out there and power bomb everybody all the time.
That's true, and I agree. And it is kind of surprising that they let him keep the name. But I mean, think about it: Samoa Joe to come in and be, I don't know, Hawaiian Joe or whatever they want to call. It's very hard.
Well, they did it with Kevin Steen. I mean, Kevin Steen's been around forever. That's how I know Kevin Steen. I mean, he's headlined many pay-per-views, pay-per-views for Ring of Honor. Or for PWG, Pro Guerrilla Wrestling, he was their heavyweight champion. He was on their pay-per-views. I mean, the guy's been around forever. Independent scenes all through the Midwest, the Mid-Atlantic, in the South. He's been everywhere.
Yeah.
They changed his name to Kevin Owens.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. And Generico.
Generico.
I mean, everybody knows Generico. Yeah, exactly.
Generico had a following crazy. I mean, to this day, you can go to a Ring of Honor show and they're still yelling, "Ole, ole, ole,
They do
ole,"
it in NXT.
And they do it in NXT. Why are they Ole? He's not Generico anymore.
Yeah, that's
true.
I think I know. But I'm glad to see they let him keep his name. I'm just happy. I'm happy they let him keep it. And his shirt is a badass shirt.
That's another thing that Vince McMahon does, is trademarking all these fucking names so they can't make money off of it. Triple H's got a different mindset of stuff. He's younger. He's energetic. He's been a wrestler. That's something Vince never been.
Yep.
Vince never. I mean, he's gotten in the ring a couple of times, but he's never been a full-time wrestler.
Nope.
He hasn't slept in his car or wrestling every other show for $15 or $20.
Yeah, that's true.
So Triple H's got that background that he knows. I think Triple H is going to be awesome 15 years from now, leading WWE down the road.
Yeah. Yep. I agree, and I'm happy that they let him keep the Samoa Joe name, and we'll just see what comes up. I'm stuck every week Wednesday nights. It's a cheap plug for the WWE Network, but I'm gonna be there every Wednesday night watching NXT. See what goes down between Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens. And of course, then after that, of course, we got the Elimination Chamber coming up in a couple of weeks or a couple of days, depending on when you guys are hearing this, or maybe ahead. It's gonna be great. John Cena, Kevin Owens, U.S. title, Elimination Chamber match for the tag team titles. We got Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose for the WWE World Heavyweight Champions, and a couple more matches that we'll have to see as they get named. But I'm really looking forward to Elimination Chamber coming up.
I'm looking forward to it too. And then Kevin Owens, this is going to be his first time in front of a sellout crowd, for a pay-per-view in the WWE. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be a very emotional moment for him, and I wish him good luck on that match.
Yep. Exactly. I hope he does very well, and I think he will, because he's a pro, he's a veteran, he's going to do very good there.
He's going to be, and he's young. He's 30. I mean, this guy's got a future. He's got another good 10 years ahead of him. I mean,
easily.
It's going to be awesome seeing him in the WWE.
And the thing I like about him is that he's different. When he was walking down that ramp on Raw, you seen his beer gut. It was just, he's different. It's awesome. It's awesome.
I'll tell you a funny story before we get to our Monday Night Raw. The first time I seen Kevin Steen wrestle was in an AAW show, All American Wrestling, and they do their show. Actually, they're still on TV today. If you got Roku, anybody with Roku, just get the AAW channel, and the Ohio Valley Wrestling channels there also. They got all the old matches. But he was wrestling for AAW, and he was their heavyweight champion of the world. And he's coming down to the ring, and I'm looking at this fat, overweight looking young kid, because he was young. He was way young. He got up on the third rope and did a moonsault, Jeff Hardy moonsault off the top rope.
Swanton?
Blew the place. The roof of that little bingo hall we were at just blew off because everybody was just so amazed to see this big fat beer belly guy get on the top rope and do a moonsault. It was beautiful. Ever since then, I've been a huge Kevin Steen fan.
Yep, I know he's going to do very well, and I'm glad to see it. So, yeah, Karen, so here we go. Let's talk about this, what we're here for. We're here to talk about Monday Night Raw from January 4th, 1999. Of course, this was a request from one of our listeners, Tony Culapesta, our main man from Spanish Harlem. He requested that we watch a Monday Night Raw from the Attitude Era, so we chose Monday Night Raw from January 4th, 1999. Why did we choose this match?
Shout out, Tony.
Shout out to Tony. Yep. Why did we choose this Monday Night Raw? I chose this Raw because this is the famous night where Mick Foley became the WWF champion, beating The Rock with the help of Stone Cold Steve Austin. DX was at ringside. The Corporation was at ringside. Mayhem was going down. All hell broke loose. Stone Cold comes down. The roof wants to fall off the place, and Mick Foley becomes the champ. One of the best moments in Raw history. And of course,
That's one of the greatest moments. That's one of the greatest moments in wrestling history.
Yep.
I mean, Mankind was one of the most deserving persons to ever hold a WWF championship in my eyes.
Yep. And the other reason I chose this Raw was because this was the night where the famous finger poke of doom from WCW went down. You know, we all know this event where Kevin Nash, he was supposed to go up against Goldberg for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship.
As a rematch from Starrcade.
Yep. Miss Elizabeth comes up with some bullshit claims that Goldberg was harassing her, this and that. They arrest Goldberg. They take him away. Hulk Hogan comes back that night from a semi-retirement that he had done because he was going to run for president. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I remember.
He did that semi-retirement. He comes back this night. Now, of course, we had the NWO Black and White and the NWO Wolfpack. They were both feuding at the time. Kevin Nash is the leader of Wolfpack. Hogan's the leader of NWO Black and White. Kevin Nash accuses Hogan of putting Miss Elizabeth to come up with these bullshit, arguments or whatever. He's like, I want to fight you for the title tonight. They agree. And so everybody, of course, is like, oh shit, Hogan's going to fight Nash on Nitro, on the sold-out Georgia Dome. You know, this was awesome. And, of course, they get in the ring.
Supposed to be.
Yep, they get in the ring. They do a little circle around. Hogan does a little finger poke of doom. Kevin Nash falls on his ass. 1, 2, 3. Everybody got swerved. Everybody got pissed off. And I believe this is when WCW began that downhill spiral that they just couldn't come back from.
I totally agree with you right there. I mean, it wasn't exciting. And you know, another thing that messed up WCW that night was when Tony Schiavone decided to announce that do not change the channel because we got the real world title coming up, and that Mick Foley was going to win the WWF title. So not to tune in, we're going to tell you what's happening over there.
Yep.
I remember I was watching Nitro that night, and I remember hearing him say, do not tune over because Mick Foley's going to win their world title. He called him Cactus Jack, actually. And I remember thinking in my head, holy shit, he finally going to win a world title? So the first thing I did was flip the channel over because I've been a Mick Foley fan my whole life, and to actually see him win a world title, you know, who wanted to miss that?
Yep. Now I got a little info from the ratings that night because, of course, this is what happened. You know, people saying that anywhere between, I think it was 400,000 and 600,000 viewers changed the channel right after he said that. And the ratings started strong with a 5.7 and only went up to a 5.8. That's Nitro. They started with a 5.7 and they only finished with a 5.8. And then Nitro started with a 5.5. Then it dropped to a 4.6 and increased to a 4.8. And they rounded off to a 5. So that means that all those people changed channel almost immediately, and they watched Mick Foley win. And then eventually, after Mick Foley won the match and they went off the air, they immediately switched back. Why? Because they wanted to see the Hogan versus Nash. And you know that WCW always had that overrun. That they were overrun, what, 10, 15 minutes? I remember watching Nitros when they would go over 20 minutes, you know? And so people switched back. They wanted to watch that. And then I guess the bad part was when you come off this Raw, this badass fucking Raw, and you switch, and you see Hogan fucking do a finger poke of doom, and Kevin Nash lay down. Oh, you know, it's just
Yeah, that was bad because you just finished seeing Mick Foley win the world title. Like you said, the corporation was out there, DX was out there, Stone Cold comes out, his music starts blaring. The roof wants to blow off the place. You got a great, world title match. I mean, it was no disqualification, and you're fighting The Rock, which was one of the top, performers back then. And then to flip over to see Hogan and Kevin Nash and that stupidity that they pulled, you killed their momentum.
I agree. Totally agree. So yeah, so this was in Worcester, Massachusetts. I hope I'm saying that right. Worcester, Massachusetts. I'm sorry if I said this name incorrectly, guys. So please forgive me about that. But it was in Massachusetts, January 4th, 1999. And the show started off with a highlight. They started highlighting HBK's career with the WWF. Now, to give you a little backdrop on this, the week before, Vince McMahon fired Shawn Michaels. And Shawn Michaels super kicked Vince McMahon. And that eventually, and that's how we ended Raw. So, yeah, so the show started with a highlight reel of HBK in the WWF, and Vince comes out pissed off. He interrupts. He's like, "Get that sentimental crap out of the Titantron." He comes down to the ring. He says, "I hope you guys forgive me. I fired Shawn Michaels. You're never going to see him again." Shawn Michaels doesn't have the balls to come back to the WWF. And just as he says that, Shawn Michaels is walking down the hallway, the backstage area. They show him on the Titantron. His music comes out. He comes out, and he says, "Oh, I'm sorry, Vince. I'm here with I think it was the Cavalry," what he said. And out comes DX, China, Triple H, Road Dogg, Badass Billy Gunn, and X-Pac, and of course Shawn Michaels. So you had big ass group of DX, and Vince. No, by the way, he's in the ring. He's with Ken Shamrock, Test, The Rock, who was the WWF champ at the time, Big Boss Man, and I want to say Kane.
Yeah, it was Kane.
Kane was out there, right? Mm-hmm. And Shane McMahon, of course. So for some reason, now this was kind of strange. Shawn says that he has control over each and every superstar in the WWF except Stone Cold Steve Austin. Why did he have to say that? I have no idea. I don't know if it was. I don't know what happened there. It was kind of weird, but it was kind of weird watching this back that he had to specifically say he didn't have control over Steve Austin.
The only reason he didn't have control over Steve Austin is because they were talking about the Royal Rumble, and Steve Austin was obligated to be the number one pick, so he couldn't choose, right?
Okay.
So, because Stone Cold was the number one pick automatically, regardless of what.
Okay, well, I guess that makes sense then, and the tone of it, that makes sense. So yeah, so then Shawn Michaels says Vince McMahon actually had pulled a number out for the 1999 Royal Rumble, and I think he had pulled out number 30, or something like that, and he had said, "Oh, I wished I had number 2." So I could whoop Stone Cold's ass because he's not going to get there at the end. And then Shawn Michaels like, "Well, this is your special night, Vince McMahon, because I'm going to make..." Now I'm paraphrasing here, of course. "This is your special night, Vince McMahon, because I'm going to make your wish come true. And you're going to be number 2 in the Royal Rumble. And Stone Cold Steve Austin's going to be number 1. And Stone Cold's going to be able to whoop your ass all night at the Royal Rumble." Basically, that was the whole introductory promo to the show. Now they go to the back, go to commercial break. After they come back, Ken Shamrock, for some reason, this was weird. Because now you watch Monday Night Raw. And after they stop speaking, the guy that's going to wrestle stays in the ring. They play his music. He stays there until commercial comes back, right? Then his opponent comes out. But for some reason, Ken Shamrock went all the way back to the backstage area with the corporation. They come back from commercial. They play his music, and then he walks back down. So that was kind of weird. Ken Shamrock was the champ at this time. I think he was the Intercontinental champ.
Intercontinental.
Yep. And he fights Steve Blackman. Now, this was kind of interesting. I got a little bit of notes of this match, and it was Blackman. He starts fighting Shamrock, and during the match, this guy comes out, Dan Severn. He comes down. He's wearing a neck brace, and for some reason, he kind of, I guess he distracted Ken Shamrock, and Shamrock, he does a snap suplex on him. Shamrock strikes a high knee to Blackman, and then Blackman, he makes a comeback. And he does a belly-to-belly suplex, and then Dan Severn, he gets on the apron, he distracts Ken Shamrock, and Billy Gunn runs down. As Dan Severn is up in the apron, I should say, the referee's trying to get him down. Billy Gunn runs down, and he does a famouser on Ken Shamrock, and Steve Blackman is able to pin him for the win. At this time, I guess Billy Gunn and Ken Shamrock, they were feuding over the Intercontinental Championship. and this was a way
Oh,
to get
okay,
heat.
yeah, because I was wondering why the hell he came out to like, what the fuck did Billy Gunn have to do with anything? With anybody else?
They were kind of few. It was kind of that's why it was kind of like the whole corporation versus DX thing, and Billy Gunn was fighting Ken Shamrock at that time. So he came down, he did the whole Famouser, and Blackman was able to get the ring. So then Ken Shamrock, he gets out of the ring, he's pissed off, and he just starts bolting to the back. It was a good match, good opening match. You know, your typical Attitude Era Raw match from that time. It was a match. It went 3 minutes and 26 seconds. I mean, that's basically. I don't think any match in this show went over 5 minutes long, except for the main.
I don't think any match in any Attitude Era or Monday Night War ever went past 5.
Yeah.
Because I remember watching some of the Nitros where they're going off the air in 3 minutes and they're coming back with the world title match. Like, well, wait a minute, you only got 3 minutes, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So that was it. And then they go to a commercial break. They come back, obviously, and they go up to the backstage where Gunn and Shamrock, they're fighting in the back. They're tossing each other up and down on the walls, hitting each other with lead pipes and this and that. Shamrock tosses him into the wall and he pummels Gunn and he leaves. Then they come back and Mankind comes to the ring. And he starts talking. You know, he starts talking in the ring. He starts saying that he wants Vince to do him a favor. He wants him to give him a title shot, this and that. That causes Vince McMahon to come out and says, you don't deserve a title shot to face The Rock. You have not paid your dues. You're not good enough, which is just completely ridiculous to say that to Mankind.
No, shit, right.
But Mankind, you know, he's like, no, I want my title shot. But so Vince is like, you know what? I'll tell you what. I'll do you something. You can fight in the Royal Rumble match. So I'm going to give you a match. You got an opportunity to go into the Royal Rumble match. I'm going to give you a match tonight against Triple H. And if you beat Triple H, you're in the Royal Rumble. And so Mankind's like, all right, you know what, fine. And then Vince McMahon throws a little monkey wrench in him and says, and the special guest referee is going to be my son, Shane McMahon. And so so then they go to the back and they see Chyna. She's talking with her friend, supposedly quote unquote girlfriend, as Michael Cole said. But we all know as a dude, anybody could tell that was a guy. But yeah, they show him there. They go to commercials, and then we go to our second match, which was Mark Henry versus Goldust.
Sexual chocolate.
I must say this. I like this gimmick from Mark Henry. The whole sexual chocolate gimmick from Mark Henry back in the early this Attitude Era. I liked it.
I loved it when him and Mae Young got pregnant. Remember?
Oh my God, the hand. Remember the hand?
Priceless.
Anyways, this was a quick match. You know, Henry beats him up. He wins, and then Chyna and her girl show up. You know, and as Henry's beating him up, Goldust is able to knock him down, and he sets him up for the Shattered Dreams. He connects, and there's a DQ. For some reason, there's a DQ in the match, and so
I think Shamrock kicked him. Shamrock kicked him in the nuts, didn't he?
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. So yeah, he kicked him in the nuts. So then after that, you know, Chyna comes into the ring with her girlfriend. They came in. And they start talking to Mark Henry, and then she whispers something. She's like, "Oh, I'm not woman enough for you. You're too much man for me. This and that." And she kind of whispers something in their ear.
They're gonna have a threesome with the girlfriend.
Yeah, of course, us being guys and teenage boys, we all know she mentioned, "Oh, you want a threesome or something like that." Of course, the Mark Henry, he completely sells this. He falls on the floor. He falls on the mat, and he goes down. And then they help him, etc., etc. That was basically it. What happened that. Then after that, we go to match number 3, which was Godfather versus Test.
And
the whole train. Now, this was when Godfather was basically starting to get that gimmick going, right? The whole Godfather gimmick, you know, the whole train, the hoes coming down. He wasn't with this gimmick too long before this. Am I right, or am I going...
No, you're right. He was with Nation of Domination before that.
Yeah, so he was kind of transitioning into this whole Godfather gimmick here. Anyways, it was an okay match. You know, not much action there. As I say, all these matches go 3 minutes or less. You know, it was a double count out.
They don't go too long. Yeah,
it was a double count out. Kind of a lame finish there, but that was out with that match. Then, then after that, we start getting into the good stuff. We have the match number 4, which was Triple H versus Mankind. And this was the match where Shane McMahon was a special guest referee.
Special guest referee.
He comes down, they start fighting, and immediately you could tell that Shane McMahon is not being impartial, you know.
Going down straight down the line.
Yeah, he's not going straight down the middle. Anyways, at some point, Triple H is able to do a sunset flip on Mankind because Mankind, you know, Triple H did kind of like that monkey flip. He was going to turn him over. Mankind started holding the ropes. Shane McMahon kicked his hands out of the rope. Mankind is able to fall back. Triple H pins him, and Shane does a real quick 1, 2, 3 count, and it's over. So Triple H wins the match. Mankind is not allowed to participate in the Royal Rumble, as is per the stipulation. Shane McMahon, of course, screwed him. So Triple H is like, you know, Mankind, I love you, we're good friends and everything, but business is business. You know, this is an opportunity for the Rumble, so I took it, I won. But I'll tell you what, Merry Christmas. And he pedigrees Shane, and he leaves Shane lying on the floor. So this then gives the opportunity to Mankind to put Shane in this kind of like weird chicken wing submission maneuver.
Shoulder buster, something.
Yeah, it was something like that. And of course, this causes Vince McMahon to come out and starts pleading with Mankind. No, leave him be, you know, don't do this and that. And Mankind's like, no, I want a title shot. So Vince McMahon agrees to give Mankind a title shot at this night on Monday Night Raw. Now this is basically, you know, this past Monday night, now we're moving back to 2015 here, but this past Monday night, Dean Ambrose kind of did the same thing where he had Seth Rollins in a bad position. He was gonna hit him with a steel chair over the cinder blocks. And that's when Stephanie McMahon was like, oh, okay, I'll give you the title shot. You can have the title shot at Elimination Chamber. Now, I was listening to a show. I usually listen to wrestling podcasts. I do one, but I actually enjoy listening to them also. And they were talking about, well, why can't Stephanie just come back and say that was under duress? And, you know, they start getting all this technical bullshit. Oh, it was under duress. You know, the title is not binding, whatever, the contract.
Because it wasn't written in the script.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know what? Come on, why we gotta get into all this technical bullshit? It's just wrestling, you know?
Right.
And
right.
They were like, oh, that's never been done before. And I'm like, oh shit. Well, I guess they never seen the January 4th, 1999, where Mankind did that same shit, you know? So
it's been done before.
Exactly. So yeah, so we go back to 1999. Of course, Vince McMahon, he gives Mankind the title shot. So we got to we're set up The Rock versus Mankind,
and it's a no disqualification match.
And it's a no disqualification match, of course. So after that, we go to commercial, we come back, then we have D'Lo Brown versus Edge. And they start fighting, you know, good match. You know, it was a 3-minute match, as always. It was a good match, but the main story off this match was that during the match, Terry Runnels, she comes walking down the aisle, holding her belly. Of course, we all, at this time, she was pregnant. You know, she was doing the whole pregnant gimmick. Right. And I don't know why. She gets on the apron, and for some reason, I guess she was feuding against D'Lo Brown or something. It's kind of tough when you watch these shows without watching the context of the whole thing. Yeah, to kind of know what everything was going on. But you can kind of get the idea. She was feuding with D'Lo Brown for some reason. D'Lo Brown tries to go over there, and she's on the apron, and Brown goes after her. She falls and clutches her gut, screaming as the ref is screaming for help. She barely fell, by the way.
Anybody who's seen the show, exactly, you can tell that she barely fell.
Yeah. So it was kind of weird. So they brought the gurney out, the gurney. They brought the gurney out there. They put it in there. They hauled her out, and she started screaming, "Oh, my belly, this and that."
You go to the backstage, and the doctor's holding a stethoscope to her stomach to try to hear if the baby's. Come on, man, what are you trying to get? You need ultrasounds and stuff for that.
It was a little lame, you know. But I guess, and of course, he said that he couldn't hear the heartbeat. So I guess that was the way of saying that she wasn't gonna have the baby, or she lost the baby, or something like that. So, anyways, after that, now this was kind of weird. They did a match, you know, where comes Shane. Shane is fine. He comes down to the ring, sputting out sentences, and it's frank. He starts talking this and that, and they make a handicap match between Kane and the Goons, Patterson and Briscoe.
Love the Goons. Yeah. Love them.
Now, they're scared, of course, because they got to face Kane. And for some reason, Kane just beats the hell out of these guys. Chokeslams them, kicks their ass, and everything's going down. Shane is a special guest referee for this match also. I
remember... Right, not to cut you off, but I remember a little bit about this. Kane had just joined a corporation. And I believe the Goons didn't want him in the corporation because he was ugly or burnt or whatever the hell had happened. And they would make fun of him all the time. they would put "kick me" signs behind his back, or they would put Briscoe's body shop signs on his back.
And at the beginning of the show, actually, Briscoe, he put a Briscoe body shop sign on Kane's back. Exactly. Yeah.
So that's what Kane decided. This is my chance to snap and get his retribution again. So and he did.
So he kicks their ass. He murders these guys, and then he goes after Shane, and he's gonna choke Sam Slam. And then Vince McMahon is like, Kane, don't you dare do it. You'll go back to the asylum. I guess they had given, or what they were selling was that Vince McMahon had this custody of Kane.
Right, he got him. That's when they were doing that Undertaker gimmick.
Yeah. So basically that's what goes on. Then we go back, commercial, then we come back into a great hardcore match. Now this was Al Snow versus the Road Dogg. He, of course, was the hardcore champ at the time. And now this was your typical attitude match, hardcore title match. When they come down, they start fighting in the ring, immediately come out, they go into the stands, beat the hell out of each other with everything. They go to the back, the cameras are following them, they're kicking each other's ass, they go everywhere, into the rooms, they hit themselves with pipes, beer kegs, everything. They go to the outside. It's snowing outside. There's snow on the floor. They're slipping and sliding everywhere, fighting, throwing punches. And then the Road Dogg's able to do a pile driver onto these like wooden pallets, and he pins them 1, 2, 3. Great match. I enjoyed it. It was fun. This was actually a long match. It was about 8 or 9 minutes long. It was a good match.
You know what? I loved that they had that 24/7 rule with the hardcore title. That was one of the greatest gimmicks they ever came up with. I mean, they were getting pinned in airports. All you needed was the referee. They could be in the using the bathroom. You get knocked out, we're gonna pin you for. I mean, it was priceless. I mean, they should come back with that. It was beautiful.
It was great, and I remember they established that 24/7 rule with Cash Holly. God rest his soul. Yeah. He's the one that came up with that.
Super heavyweight.
Yep.
Super
exactly.
heavyweight.
Remember when he used to come down with that big ass scale?
With the scale, yeah. And then he weighed himself allegedly over 500 pounds or some shit.
Yeah. So they so this was a great match all around, snowing, as I said. He comes back into the ring, he celebrates with the crowd, and the people just love this. It was a great match.
I agree. Love that match. Love the hardcore matches in WWF at that time.
Yep. Now after that, we go to a little backstage. Now this was kind of confusing for me because I don't remember exactly what happened, but this was kind of confusing. Now we see because at the beginning I forgot to mention that Shawn Michaels said he had a surprise for Vince McMahon. And the surprise was going to be stone cold. He had a stone cold surprise, were his words. Oh, today I'm going to have a surprise for you. And let's just say it's going to be a stone cold surprise, right? And he said that in the next 2 hours, he's going to get that surprise. So then we go to this backstage segment where we see Triple H. He's surrounded by DX. He's like, I'm going to go out. I'm going to get Vince McMahon, stone cold surprise. And he goes to the outside and DX closes the door. Right? And as they do this, Triple H says something, but he said it so low that I wasn't able to I couldn't just understand what he was saying. But it was something like because Shawn Michaels was like, "Oh, I'll be back," and Triple H was like, "I don't think so," or something like that. It was something weird there. And so, anyways, Shawn Michaels, he goes to get in the car, and he figures, "Oh, they gave me the wrong key. I don't have the key for the car." So when he tries to get back into the building door is locked, and of course, then you hear Vince McMahon, "Hey, Shawn." And then you see Big Boss Man and the corporation to kick the hell out of him. They go to commercial. When they come back, Shawn Michaels laying on top of the car. His head is busted open. He's bleeding. And he's gone from the building. All right? That was basically it. But I was thinking, like, wait a minute. Isn't DX supposed to be, like, good guys? Why? I didn't understand. It was kind of a little confusing there. But anyways, the corporation took out Shawn Michaels.
Correct.
Yeah. So then after this, we go to the main event. Mankind versus The Rock for the WWF title. Now, this was the time when The Rock was wearing his kind of like street clothes, you know, it was like those long workout pants, you know, and that
jogging
shirt.
Pants or something.
And I think he was wearing that because he had just gotten an operation on his chest. He did something to like his nipples or something. He changed something he had something in his chest where he had to get operated, and he had to wear like these big bandages. So that was the reason actually he was wearing those.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he had an operation. And he had to wear these big ass bandages in his chest. So to wrestle, he would wear that clothes. That's why he only wore that for like maybe a month and a couple of weeks.
He had it for a good while, but it was only a couple months, maybe tops.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was because of that. He had an operation. So, anyways, he comes down looking like a badass, The Rock, with the corporation. Comes down with everybody, the corporation on one side, Mankind's on the other side with DX, and they start fighting. They have a good match. They start brawling. They start brawling on the floor. The Rock, he gets his bell rung on the announcer's table. You know, they're going back and forth. At one point, Ken Shamrock gets a little cheap shot on Mankind. The Rock's like, hey, no. Let The Rock do it. The Rock can do it. The champ's going to do it, you know? And that's one of the things I liked about The Rock. These little details, you know, just made him look like a badass. And he would call you on your shit. Like, no. This is champ's time. You know, like, get your ass away from the... Don't touch him, you know? So they start fighting. They go everywhere. They get on a nice table. The Rock, I think The Rock did a rock bottom on Mick Foley on the commentator's table. You know, it gets to a point where Mankind then gets the upper hand. And as Mankind gets the upper hand, Ken Shamrock comes in and he nails Mick Foley because it's an ODQ match. Billy Gunn then gets in, of course, and he starts nailing Ken Shamrock. And they start fighting, and all hell breaks loose. Everybody
they're fighting
from the
outside, inside, they're going everywhere.
Yep, everybody from the corporation is fighting. DX is fighting. Vince McMahon is just going nuts. Shane McMahon is looking in like giving instructions to Kane to beat everybody the fuck up. And then all of a sudden, what goes on? Stone Cold
music hits.
And oh my God, that was the loudest pop I've heard in professional wrestling. And I've seen a lot of wrestling shows, ladies and gentlemen. And that was the loudest pop that I've seen. And this even surpasses Triple H when he came back in 2002 from his quad injury in Madison Square Garden, where that building wanted to go nuts. But I don't think it was as loud as this one.
That even surpasses when Dean Malenko had that feud with Chris Jericho. For everybody that remembers the Monday Night Wars, Chris Jericho had a feud going on with Dean Malenko, and if Jericho beat Malenko, Malenko could never get another title shot. This was for the Cruiserweight title. And he pinned Malenko. Malenko was out of it, could never win a Cruiserweight title shot again. So a couple months down the line, Chris Jericho's every week just barging of how he eliminated Malenko. And this went on for like 6 months. Then all of a sudden they have this crazy Cruiserweight tag team, Cruiserweight Battle Royal, and whoever wins this Cruiserweight Battle Royal is the #1 contender for the title. And they'll face Jericho right then and there, right after the Battle Royal. So Jericho comes out, he's got his belt. All these crazy luchadors start coming out, Rey Mysterio, Billy Kidman, you name them, they were there. And then some weird guy that nobody ever heard of. He's got this mask on, and I can't remember his name, a Loco Pollo or some shit he called him. I can't remember the name, so that's not his name, but it was something crazy like that. Mm-hmm. And everybody's like, well, who the hell is this guy? And then all of a sudden, this guy, he wins the Battle Royal. And then the crowd is like, well, what the hell? And they start to boo. When Dean Malenko pulls his mask out that everybody said was Dean Malenko, the place wanted to blow up. That was the loudest pop I had ever heard till I had seen this Monday Night Raw.
Yep. Now, going back to that match a little bit. You kind of knew it was Dean Malenko when the guy started wrestling, because, I mean, he was doing the whole Dean Malenko shtick, you know?
Yeah, but Dean Malenko was out of wrestling for months. He had left. He was disappointed, disgusted in himself that he lost to Chris Jericho. Nobody's heard of him. And Chris Jericho every week was coming out with some stupid, why he beat Malenko. He was the man of 1,001 holds. Mm-hmm. You know, one more hold than Dean Malenko.
Armbar.
Right. He said armbar about 10 times a day.
Yeah.
Actually, that was in Chicago. I'm not sure if I was in... It sounds real familiar, but that one was in Chicago. I'm probably confident on that. But you haven't heard from Malenko in like 4 or 5, 6 months, and all of a sudden this short, chubby, retarded-looking Pollo Loco comes out and beats everybody. You're like, who the hell is this? And nobody had a clue. Not even the fans there, because else that place wouldn't have blown up the way it did once he revealed who it was.
Awesome, yeah. One of the awesome moments from WCW. Now, going back to this Monday Night Raw, of course, as I mentioned, the roof goes nuts. The people are going nuts. Stone Cold comes down, grabs the chair, nails The Rock, and is able to place Mankind on top of The Rock for the pin for the 1, 2, 3. And Mankind becomes the new WWF World Heavyweight Champion. Now, this was, of course, leading up till WrestleMania 15, right, where The Rock would end up facing Stone Cold. Now, of course, this was way before. This was early in January. The Royal Rumble was almost at the end of January.
Right.
So we still did not know that Stone Cold or eventually, of course, was going to go to the Rumble. So they kind of needed like this placeholder for the title, for that feud before they got to WrestleMania. And I loved the idea of Mankind becoming the champ because you didn't expect it.
I agree.
Nobody expected Mankind to become the champ. Nobody expected The Rock to lose so quickly because he had just won the title in Survivor Series 6 weeks before or something like that. So nobody expected it. It was completely... The only thing that I think kind of screwed it up a little bit was that Tony Schiavone gave it away on Nitro. Because if you think about it...
If he would have said nothing, nobody would have changed the channel because everybody was looking for the Nash Hogan match.
Exactly. And when you think about it, we're talking about 1999, early 1999. There was internet back then, but you didn't have the proliferation of all these different wrestling sites. Now they give you all the spoilers ahead of time and all that, you know?
No, the only thing you had back then was like WCW.com or WWF.com.
Yeah, or the Wrestling Observer newsletter, you know, and you had to subscribe and you still get it in the mail and stuff like that, you know? So at least I'm talking about my personal experience. I wouldn't have known that Mick Foley was going to win. I would have had to watch it live to find out. So,
I agree.
You know, this was just a great moment. I read all the three books that Mick Foley wrote, and the first book he wrote, he finishes it off at this exact moment, and you know, this was one of the best moments. He describes this was the best moment he had in his career at that time. And of course, when you think about it, anybody who wins the title for the first time is going to be their best moment in the career ever. It's kind of like Seth Rollins now, you know, he just cashed in the Money in the Bank now, and I bet you this is going to be his biggest moment in his career, no matter what he does from here on.
Well, it is. You got to agree, because winning the world title as a wrestler, the world title, you know, not any championship, but the world heavyweight title, that's got to be like, that's the top of the mountain. You know, you've made it to the top. Nobody could take that away from you.
Yep. And this would eventually set up the match between The Rock and Mankind at the Royal Rumble, the famous I Quit match where The Rock nailed Mankind like with 15 chair shots to the hair. I quit. So, and of course, the famous Royal Rumble where Vince McMahon won. He actually won that Royal Rumble. And that would lead then to St. Valentine's Day cage match, you know.
You know, I'm going to say something. When that happened, I always, every month, I would order every WCW pay-per-view, regardless of who was fighting. It was always on. I always watched it. Watched every Nitro. Made sure I watched the pay-per-view so I know what's going to happen the next night on Nitro. After Mick Foley won the world title, I didn't order the WCW sold out pay-per-view that year to get the Royal Rumble and see, you know, the I Quit match for Mankind and The Rock. And I was so glad I did, because it was an awesome pay-per-view. We're gonna have to put it on our list.
A great match. And I actually enjoyed the Royal Rumble. You know, people look back at that Royal Rumble and they kind of bitch and moan about the Royal Rumble. You know, Vince McMahon and Stone Cold, they got outside and they start fighting. They're gone to the end. But I mean, you had to know Vince McMahon and Steve Austin were going to be part at the end of the match. And you had to know they weren't going to fucking be out there for an hour. You know, everybody had to know that shit, you know. Exactly. So I like the way they did it. You know, they kind of fought up the aisle. They went to, I think they even went to the bathroom at some point fighting. You know, and so it was great. I like the way they started the match. They started it hot. They got them back there. The Royal Rumble continued, and then they came back at the end. You know, it was great.
Yep, it was. I agree.
So yeah, so there you got it, Kern. Monday Night Raw, January 4th, 1999, going up against WCW Finger Poke of Doom. What star rating? What would you give this Monday Night Raw, Kern? General, the whole show.
I would give it a 9, a strong 9.
Wow, you would give it a strong 9.
Yeah, wow. The ending made it for me. I mean, to me, that's the actual point where I believe, just like you said earlier, that's where the tide changed from WCW to WWF.
This was a good show. I think it was solid, but I would give it a 7. I'll go as high as a 7 because I don't know, maybe I've been accustomed to all these great quality matches now in 2013, 2014, 2015 in Monday Night Raw. Then when I come back and I see these 3-minute matches, it's like, oh, you know, I wanted to see a little bit more action. Yeah, but it was a different era, though.
When was the last time you seen a crowd reaction on Raw like you seen that night?
Exactly.
It's been a while.
I totally agree.
It's been a while.
Totally agree. And that was wrestling's boom period, and that's what really attracted everybody. And when you think about it, this was an Attitude Era where, yeah, okay, it had sexuality, it had the whole Mark Henry thing, but it wasn't like really over the top. You know, it wasn't like, I'm gonna choppy your pee-pee with Val Venus and fucking Kaientai. You know, it was a little, it was more Stone Cold, The Rock, you know, these badass characters And this is the type of wrestling that I enjoyed. You know, this is what I really liked about the Attitude Era. So yeah, but I'll go as high as 7 because of the matches. You know, the only 2 matches that I really thought were worth anything in the show, of course, was the Hardcore title match and the WWF title match. The other matches were kind of just throwaways to kind of advance the shows, the storylines. So yeah, I'll go as high as a 7.
All right. Is it email time?
Yeah, it's time for our mailbag section here at the Cheech and Kern Wrestling Podcast, and I'll let you kick it off over there, Kern.
Mailbag section. Love that. All right. Once again, we got our good buddy Oliver James calling from London, England.
Oliver James. Now, I got to say, Oliver James has been a solid fan since day one at this show, and he writes us constantly, so a big shout out to Oliver James.
Oliver James out in London listening to us, and he has a question for us. He says, what is your favorite WCW angle besides the NWO? Cheech, what do you think?
Okay, well, that's a good one. That's a good one because when you think about it, normally everybody would say that, of course, the NWO, because it's one of the biggest angles in professional wrestling in the last 20, 30 years. But I would go back. I got to think about this. My biggest angle in WCW besides the NWO.
Besides the NWO.
I guess I would have to go back to Ric Flair versus Terry Funk, Clash of the Champions. I want to say it was 89 because I remember this. It was an I Quit match between Ric Flair and Terry Funk. And I think it was after Ric Flair had beaten Ricky Steamboat for the title. And Terry Funk was the guest commentator with Jim Ross, I believe it was. It with Jim Ross? I want to say it was with Jim Ross. They were doing the commentary, and I must say Terry Funk was a good commentator. You know, at least in that show, he was a good commentator. And he came in, he congratulated Ric Flair, and he's like, "Oh, Rick, you know, congratulations! You're such a great athlete. You're such a professional, and gosh, you know, I would love to have a shot for that title." And Ric Flair kind of just like shoves it off, like, no,
yeah,
you know, we got a top 10, you know, we got a top 10 here, and we got a ranking system, and you know, you're over your head or something like that. That's what. And Terry Funk takes this like, wait a minute, you know, I was just kind of playing around, you know, I really didn't want to take the title, you know, Ric Flair, I don't want to disrespect you, this and that. I mean, you're such a great wrestler. I was just fooling around, Rick. You know, and then Ric Flair kind of kept cementing it, like, yeah, buddy, you know, there's a top 10, and you're nowhere near the top 10. You know, Ric Flair was a face at this time. We got to remember this. He was a baby face.
You're out in Hollywood making movies. You know, we got a top 10 here.
Exactly. You know, he was supposed to be a baby face, but he was complete. You know, I felt sympathy here for Terry Funk at this point when Ric Flair was like, no, there's a top 10. You're nowhere near the top 10. You know, you're out of your league. And so Terry Funk, he kind of like, oh, I didn't want to do it. And then to the end where he just nails Ric Flair and he beats the shit out of him. Now, he beats the shit out of him everywhere, and he does something that was, I guess, well, maybe it was done before, but you really rarely seen it. A hardcore move. He grabbed Ric Flair, and he did a pile driver on a table on the outside. And they were really selling that Ric Flair had broken his neck, and he was going to be paralyzed, and Jim Ross was like, oh, my God, Ric Flair, this man, ladies and gentlemen. You know, and
I remember that.
Excuse me. You know, this was such a great angle. I remember watching this. I was like, oh my God, you know, this was awesome. So that would be my favorite WCW angle besides the NWO.
Yeah, that's a good one. I remember that. Yeah, that was very, very intriguing. All right, well, my angle on the end, besides the NWO on WCW, would have to be the Black Scorpion versus Sting. You know, they started off the angle early in the year. That he come out with voices saying that he was a friend and a foe from Sting from back in the day, and that he was coming to take the championship from him. And you know, over the months they would stop on their shows. The Black Scorpion would come and, you know, abduct somebody out of the stage or something, and one of the WCW crew people. And it ended up finishing off at Starrcade when it ended up everybody seeing that it was Ric Flair that came out being the friend and the foe and actually lost to Sting. But that 4 months that they had going there with that Black Scorpion gimmick, that would be my angle besides the NWO, because everybody else is going to say the NWO is the best.
Yep, I agree. That was an okay angle. We talked about a little bit about that angle in episode 4 when we talked about Halloween Havoc 1990. If you guys haven't listened to that, I recommend you guys go back and check out episode 4, where we talk a little bit about Black Scorpion and Sting. So yeah, you guys make sure to go back and check that out.
Didn't Black Scorpion come out in that show?
Yeah, he did. He actually came back. He came out in that show, and he did an abduction of one of the fans, so to speak, and he was doing little magic tricks here and there. So yeah, we talk about that at episode 4 of the Cheech and Kern Wrestling Podcast. Check it out, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, and we got a new listener email here saying he loves the show and congratulations. And he says that
What's his name? What's his name?
His name is Jeff Gibson. My bad, Jeff. I totally forgot to say your name. His name
Gibson.
Jeff,
where is he from?
Jeff Gibson from St. Louis, Missouri.
St. Louis. Shout out to Jeff.
And shout out to Jeff. And he said that he enjoys the show and he's a huge TNA fan. Likes to know if you guys do any TNA episodes, and if you can, if Lockdown 2010 is available for. He said that's Lockdown 2010 for TNA. It was in St. Louis, Missouri, and he attended the show. And he wants to know if we can talk about that show next week.
Yeah. TNA Lockdown 2010. We got a special, what you call that?
It's a request for 2010.
A request. There you go. Thank you. I forgot the word.
Today's show was Tony Culapesta, one of our favorite listeners, and he called it. He emailed us at cheechandkern@gmail.com to let us know what show he wanted. He wanted the Attitude Era, so that's what we're doing now. We encourage everybody to email us with whatever show you guys are thinking about. And if you think about a show you want to watch, we can talk about it. You can watch it before. Send us the email before that Thursday of that week, and we will share your comments and questions on the air.
Yeah. We kind of build a whole community here. You know, you guys can send us your requests. We will do them. We'll talk about them. You watch the show. Send us your comments, your feedback about the show at cheechandkern@gmail.com, and we'll read them on the show. And we could all be part of the show. So yeah, that sounds good. TNA Lockdown 2010. That's gonna be our next episode, and that sounds great. Yep.
So there'll be no problem for Mr. Jeff Gibson over here. We will do TNA Lockdown 2010 next week.
All right. Well, pay attention to that, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, you could also send us your question, comments, and feedback at cheechandkern@gmail.com. Make sure to send us that in. We'll read them on the show. And Karen, I think we got any more questions? Because we need to get out of here. We've been over here for over an hour.
Yeah, well, that's all the emails we got for tonight. We actually have a couple more. We just don't have any time for them right now, but we'll make sure we get to them from next week. So if we haven't heard your name and your email, tune in next week, and we'll make sure we get you in there.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week, guys. Make sure to please subscribe at our official YouTube channel. We're making our way to iTunes. This show might be up already on iTunes, so if it is, please subscribe there. Because we got a couple of emails of people saying that they couldn't watch it on YouTube because it was killing their data. So yeah, we worked it up. We got it on MP3. We're gonna get this up on iTunes, so you guys can follow us there. Please check us out. We're gonna be on Stitcher, iTunes, and of course our official YouTube channel, youtube.com/Cheech and Kern. So follow us there. So till next week, take care, guys, and thanks for listening.
Peace.